Having been at this for over a decade, I've seen pretty much every take on Social Security, from taking it early before it goes broke to waiting until 70 for a higher payout. While the decision on when to take Social Security is always based on unique and personal factors, people always seem to be curious about the differences. So what does it look like to take it at 62 versus 70? Well, let's find out. We'll work through an example and see what type of impacts taking it at either age can make. Hey everybody, I'm Curtis Crossland of Subtle Crossland Wealth Advisors, and I help folks build more tax-efficient retirements. So let's get into this video. Now, it's going to be important to have just a quick breakdown on what exactly happens when you take Social Security early before full retirement age, or what happens if you decide to wait and delay till 70. So take a look at this from the Social Security Administration's website. But under current law, retirees can receive their full unreduced monthly benefit upon reaching their full retirement age. For individuals born after 1942, the current full retirement age varies from age 66 to 67 based on year of birth. Earliest age at which individuals can start receiving retirement benefits is 62, also called the early eligibility age, or EEA. For each month that benefits are received before the full retirement age, those benefits are permanently reduced by early retirement reduction factors. For benefits started in the 3 years, or 36 months before the FRA, the monthly reduction is 0.555%, or 6.7% a year. For benefits started more than 3 years before the FRA, the monthly reduction is 0.416%, or about 5% a year. If, however, an individual waits until after reaching his or her full retirement age to claim benefits, the monthly benefit increases with delayed retirement credits. Delayed retirement credits can be earned each month up to age 70 and can increase benefits by about 0.667% a month, or 8% a year. So in effect, there's the explanation for why your monthly benefit is going to be less if you take it early versus waiting all the way till 70. And now you can start to see the issue. Taking it early means you get it now, but waiting longer means you get a higher monthly amount. So what is one to do? Well, that's what we're going to take a look at. Now, I want to keep the assumptions pretty cut and dry and fairly simple. So here we have a married couple, ages 62 and 59, just retired. For now, we'll say that they're going to die at 90. Don't worry, we'll assume they had a good run. They have no current debt. They paid everything off before they entered retirement. Now, as far as their income sources are concerned, they're eventually going to have Social Security, and they're going to have their investments, whether that's the income or having to draw down on those. Now, there is going to be added costs for medical care, just in case, as well as end-of-life care or long-term care as part of the assumptions. And as far as the monthly budget right now, we're going to go with $6,000 and index that for inflation over time. Note that there can be several different ways to actually look at cash flow. You can have the guardrails method, a floor and ceiling approach, a spending smile, spending stages. I'm just going to look at a flat budget assumption that's inflation adjusted over time. So the idea here is their expenses are going to be at $6,000, and then that number will increase year over year as inflation is added into that. Now, the first thing I want to do is just jump us over here and have a look at their income and expenses. That way we can just get an idea of what their specific situation looks like. So something you may note in the income flow section is, at least for right now, we have the Social Security defaulting to full retirement age, or 67, for each spouse. And because we have a little bit of an age gap, the Social Security is going to begin first for the husband, and then eventually the wife will have hers as well. But we're going to default that, at least initially, to full retirement age for both, which is age 67 in this example. Now, because they have that $6,000 per month, and we have added costs for health, and we have inflation, you can see that the expenses in this column are scaling over time. Now, we'll take a quick look at the Monte Carlo as well, just to see what this is doing. And you'll notice here that, at least on the current plan, they have a very high probability of success at 99%. And something else to note is going to be the median value on this Monte Carlo, or probability distribution, of $6 million. So keep that number in mind, 99% Monte Carlo, as well as 6 million as the median value or terminal value on the Monte Carlo for their situation. Now, why does any of this matter? Well, this information can be used in any sort of Social Security strategy decision. And it should be pointed out that they waited to retire until they had a high probability of success without Social Security being an overweighting factor. They didn't want to put themselves in a position where Social Security could necessarily make or break them, but they certainly want the option and capability to optimize in any event. We'll also come over here and we'll just take a quick look at the confidence on the baseline plan. Again, taking Social Security at just full retirement age or 67. You'll notice that even though the probability of outcomes increases in dispersion over time, in that 5 to 95% confidence level, the 5% level never hits or goes below 0, and then the upper bound is just over 17 million, and then we end up with that median just over 6 million, or that dark blue line. Try to take note of that, because this is going to be useful as we take a look at the other scenarios of the 62 and 70. And then why would that matter? So now the part that most people are probably going to care about, which is actually taking a look at the Social Security. So if we just look at the current strategy, again, full retirement age 67. So it's just kind of a neat visual where we get to see Social Security beginning, we get to see when they both take it, and then we get to see the projections as costs of living increase assumptions are put on these income sources over time. And now what we'll do is we'll actually take a look at age 70, and we'll actually take a look at age 62 and try to get an idea of what some of the difference is. Now, the first thing you might notice is this number here. At least in this example, almost $1 million more if they delay until 70 and then both live to 90 compared to taking it at 62. So there is a fairly sizable difference between their lifetime payout taking it at 62 versus 70. And you can kind of see that play out in the chart here as well. The gray area represents taking it at 62. The blue area represents taking it at 70. But you can notice something here. Once we kind of get around age 73, there's a much higher spike in the annual payout that Social Security will provide if they both are waiting until 70. Now, the other really interesting thing to take a look at is actually going to be this. What is the break-even point? So if somebody was to take Social Security at 62, let's say these people took Social Security at 62, and then we had Bizarro World couple where they had everything else the same, but they decided to take Social Security at 70. Everything played out perfectly. Where's that inflection point? And at least here we can see it's age 79 when we do a comparison in this example from 62 to 70. But this could be something that could weigh in on someone's decision as well. Do I take it early? Do I take it later? Where's the break-even age? There's a multitude of things that would need to be considered. This is at least helpful in taking a look at it. And something else that would be kind of fun to look at. So if we wait till age 70, or if we just take it at full retirement age, what would be the break-even then? Well, here we can see that the break-even age ends up being about age 81. 81 becomes the break-even or the inflection point. Also, if we come back over here and we just look at the comparison, taking it at 70 versus full retirement age of 67, we still have a higher lifetime payout by waiting till age 70. But again, this assumes that both people live to be 90. And I just want to stress, this is literally going to be different for everybody. No two scenarios are ever absolutely identical. But there's a bit more to the story that we should take a look at, so we can't just end there. So if we actually come back over here to the Monte Carlo, I want to look at the difference and see how this might affect the Monte Carlo, as well as the dispersion, as well as the median, by taking a look at the different ages, 62 versus full retirement age versus 70. So down here, the only thing that I'm going to change is we're going to have Social Security begin as early as possible. And now we can compare the baseline plan over here, full retirement age 67 versus 62. And there's two things that we'll notice here right off the bat. The first, we have a very similar probability of success score, but it actually went down 2%. However, if you're carefully observing here, you'll notice the median for taking it at 62 is actually a little bit higher than what we see out of the median for the age 67 plan, or full retirement age. And again, keep that in mind, but now what we'll do is let's change this to 70. So if we go age 70, and we compare that versus the full retirement age, you'll notice two things again. Now we actually have a little bit of a higher Monte Carlo outcome, and we actually have a lower median. So that's very interesting. Higher outcome with the delay till 70, but a lower median. So how is that the case? Well, we just need to go a little bit deeper and take a look at what is happening. So what I'm going to do is we're going to take a look at the age 62, or earliest possible first. And we're going to come back over here to the confidence to try to get an understanding of the difference. So right here, we're looking at the confidence on the proposed plan. And if we actually come over here all the way to the edge, now we can see that we have our 5 to 95% confidence interval at just about 600,000 on the low end, up to 18.5 million on the high end. Well, if you'll remember back to full retirement age or age 67, those two numbers were a little bit closer together. So with age 62, if we have a widening in the probability of outcomes, what can happen is we can see that Monte Carlo kind of dip off because we can have too much of the left tail risk start to creep in. And that's why it would show a 97% instead of that 99 or even 100%. But because the upper end extended as well, now all of a sudden that median line gets nudged up just a little bit. If we hop back over and we change this back to age 70, and then we come back and we take a look at the confidence on that proposed plan for age 70, come all the way over here to the edge. Well, now we can see that our 5 to 95% range is about 1.4 on the low end, up to 16.3 at age 70. And so what's happening here is now we have a little bit less of that left tail risk or probability of that worst case scenario occurring. But because we've pulled in our dispersion a little bit, our median line gets nudged down. And then as you might expect, having that full retirement age or 67 is going to be somewhere right in between that 70 and that 62. And now this raises just a really interesting question. Well, how do you measure this for yourself? Which is the winning approach? How do you define that? So if you were to look at just the median, you might say, well, 62 is the winner. 62 had the highest median. But if you were to look at Monte Carlo, well, you might say, well, 70 is the winner. 70 had the highest Monte Carlo. So how do you define what is going to matter the most to you? Some people just simply can't mentally handle several years in early retirement with no income. And as we saw back on the cash flow projections, there were years with zeros as far as income is concerned. Sometimes folks want to turn that income on as quickly as they can. You get so used to a paycheck in your working years, and not having anything can bring on a new level of anxiety, especially when you're in retirement. And others are going to have no problem spending down taxable accounts or maybe strategically using IRA accounts in low tax years. They may not feel the same stress of having years of zero income if they believe that they're going to have a better outcome in their view or in their example by doing a delay. And then on top of that, some people may not be able to stand the thought of missing out on a potential $1 million more in projected payout. Even if the median's a little bit less, it may keep them up at night knowing that they're leaving $1 million in Social Security, or I should say projected income from Social Security, if they would have just waited until 70. And some may let that go because they fear their payout might end before they hit 90. And in their mind, that could happen any number of ways: pass away early, or have fear that Social Security will get altered in some way and they get paid less. And this really just starts to scratch the surface on deciding when somebody would take Social Security. What if one spouse has major health issues or longevity concerns? What if they predecease for any substantial amount of time? How does something like that affect the decision on Social Security? And what is the benefit that a surviving spouse would get in that event? How does that affect balances over time? How does that affect projections? And how do taxes start to change this picture as well? Even that's another major layer to this. And I'll actually link a video I previously did looking at tax planning being critical for retirees. So if you want to check that out, click the link. The bottom line is that it's fun to look at the differences in payouts based on age. But when it comes to defining the best or winning scenario, it's going to be absolutely dependent on each individual case and personal factors. If you have no idea where to begin or what to do, seeking the help of a qualified and licensed professional can be a starting point. Once more, I'm Curtis Crossland, and if you want to see how we help folks build a more tax-focused and efficient retirement, be sure to check us out at www.subtlecrossland.com and subscribe for future videos.